Captain Joran adjusted the straps of his armor as the shuttle touched down on the alien planet. The surface below was a strange mix of glowing blue rivers and tall, crystal-like trees that stretched toward the sky. He had been sent here as part of a peacekeeping mission, a human representative among an alien civilization he barely understood. The planet was ruled by Empress Kaylara, a leader of a proud and ancient alien race. Her people were known for their beauty, intelligence, and discipline. Joran had heard stories of their unmatched palace guards, warriors who never faltered in the face of danger. He had also heard whispers that humans were unpredictable, often reckless but strong. Joran stepped out of the shuttle into the palace courtyard, where Kaylara awaited him. The alien Empress was as impressive as the stories suggested. She stood, tall, her posture regal, and her eyes seemed to look straight into his mind. Around her, the guards formed a perfect circle, their weapons gleaming in the sunlight. "Welcome, human," Kaylara said. Her voice was calm, but there was a hint of curiosity in it. "We are honored to meet someone of your species." "Thank you, Your Highness," Joran replied, bowing slightly. "I am here to observe and assist whatever your needs may be." For a moment, everything seemed peaceful. The sun reflected off the crystal towers of the palace, and birds with translucent wings flew above the courtyard. But peace, Joran knew, was often fragile. Without warning, alarms blared. The ground shook as massive enemy ships broke through the atmosphere. A squadron of alien attackers descended, firing strange energy weapons. The palace erupted into chaos. Guards shouted orders, but many of them froze in fear as the enemy soldiers advanced. Joran saw it instantly. Most of Kaylara's guards were retreating. They turned and ran, abandoning their posts. Some tried to fight but were quickly overwhelmed. "Your Highness," Joran shouted, running toward Kaylara. "Stay behind me." Kaylara's eyes widened, but she trusted him. Joran positioned himself in front of her, raising his shield. Energy blasts slammed into the courtyard, sending sparks and debris flying. The human's armor absorbed several hits, but Joran barely noticed. His focus was on protecting the Empress. He moved like a machine, precise and fast. He blocked incoming attacks, pushed Kaylara out of harm's way, and even knocked over an enemy soldier with a single strike of his reinforced arm. The Empress watched him closely. Every move he made was calculated, brave, and fearless. She had never seen such determination in her guards, most of whom had fled. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, shouting over the explosions. "Because someone has to protect you," Joran replied simply, "and I am not afraid." Kaylara felt something stir within her. Humans were supposed to be reckless, unpredictable, and weak compared to her kind. Yet this human was none of those things. He was strong, brave, and completely selfless. The enemy pushed closer, and the courtyard became a battlefield. Joran used every skill he had learned in his years as a soldier. He dodged blasts, threw enemies off balance, and even used pieces of the environment as weapons. A fallen pillar became a battering ram, a broken crate served as a shield, and rocks were hurled with surprising precision. Kaylara followed him as best she could, her long robes flowing behind her. She tried to defend herself with her own energy staff, but the human's unpredictability was their strength. Joran anticipated her, movements guiding her through the chaos. At one point, an enemy soldier aimed directly at her, preparing to fire. Joran dove, slamming his body in front of her. The blast hit him squarely in the chest. Sparks flew, smoke rose, but Joran stayed standing. He gritted his teeth, refusing to let the Empress fall. Kaylara gasped, feeling both fear and awe. She had always been told that humans were reckless, but this human, was something else entirely. He was not just brave, he was fearless in a way she had never seen. The battle continued, and the courtyard began to crumble. Crystal towers shattered, stone paths cracked, and smoke filled the air. Yet Joran did not falter. He moved with precision, guiding Kaylara toward a side exit that led to the palace's inner corridors. "Keep moving, Your Highness," he shouted. "I will handle anyone who comes near." Kaylara nodded, trusting him completely. She could feel his determination, his focus, and his willingness to sacrifice himself. Her guards had fled, but this human soldier stood firm. It was almost unreal. As they reached the corridor, Joran paused, checking for enemy forces. He ducked, behind a fallen pillar, motioning for Kalara to follow. She did so without hesitation. "We need to get to the palace interior," Joran said. "There are safe paths there, and we can regroup." The Empress followed, watching him closely. She realized that this human was not like the others. While her people valued strength, discipline, and strategy, humans had something different, something unpredictable and powerful, courage that did not waver, no matter the danger. For the first time, Kalara felt a spark of hope. Perhaps this human could help her protect her people when her own guards had failed. Perhaps, just perhaps, humanity had a place among the stars that went beyond mere soldiers and mercenaries. As they disappeared into the palace's hidden corridors, Joran kept his shield raised, ready for the next attack. The enemy was relentless, but so was he. And in that moment, the Empress understood one simple truth. Humans were not just survivors. They were protectors. And Captain Joran was the finest example she had ever seen. The palace corridors were dark, lit only by the faint glow of energy panels along the walls. Captain Joran led the way, shield raised, every step careful but fast. Behind him, Empress Kalara followed, her eyes darting at every shadow. Her mind was a whirlwind of fear, disbelief, and curiosity. She had always been protected by her elite guards, but now she saw the truth. Her human protector moved with a courage she had rarely witnessed. "Are you hurt?" Joran asked, turning his head slightly to check her. Kalara shook her head, brushing a strand of her silver-blue hair from her face. "No, but my guards, they abandoned me," she said, her voice low and tinged with shame. "They were scared," Joran replied calmly. "Fear makes people do strange things. But that doesn't matter now. What matters is that we keep moving." Kalara studied him closely. He did not sound proud or boastful. He did not judge her people for fleeing. Instead, he focused entirely on her safety. It was a kind of bravery she had rarely seen. Her own soldiers, trained from birth, had failed her. Yet this human, who had arrived on her world only recently, was risking his life without hesitation. Trikin. Corridor forked into two paths. Joran paused, examining the walls and the floor. He noticed faint energy traces on one side, footprints left by the enemy. "This way," he said, leading her into a narrower passage. The walls here were carved with alien symbols and soft glowing patterns that pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Kalara recognized them as part of the palace's security system, meant to alert guards to intruders. "Can you disable it?" she asked, pointing at the glowing symbols. Joran crouched and examined the panel. "I think so," he said. Using a small device from his belt, he tapped a few buttons. The pulsing lights dimmed and a soft click echoed through the corridor. Kalara's eyes widened. "Impressive. You humans are clever." Joran smiled slightly. "We have to be. On the battlefield, thinking fast can save lives." As they moved further into the palace, Kalara realized that she had never truly appreciated the simple ingenuity of humans. Her guards were strong and disciplined, but Joran's mind worked in ways her people rarely did, adapting, improvising, and anticipating danger before it arrived. Suddenly, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed behind them. Joran pushed Kalara against the wall and raised his shield. Through the dim light, 3 enemy soldiers appeared, their weapons aimed directly at them. "Stay behind me," Joran whispered. With swift precision, he swung his shield to block the first energy blast, then kicked over a control panel to create a small barrier. The second soldier stumbled over the debris and Joran used the moment to strike, sending him crashing into the wall. The third enemy hesitated, surprised by Joran's quick thinking and human unpredictability. Joran threw a small device at the floor, releasing a blinding flash of light. The soldier cried out and ran, giving them a clear path forward. Kalara could not hide her admiration. "Your courage. It is unlike anything I have ever seen," she said. It is not courage, Joran replied. It is duty. Protecting someone is more important than fear. They continued down the corridor, weaving through broken panels and fallen statues. Kailara began to feel a strange sense of relief, not because the palace was safer, but because she had someone she could trust. Her guards had failed her, but Joran had not. His presence brought her calm, a feeling she had not experienced in hours of chaos. At a junction, they found a small room with emergency supplies. Joran motioned her. Inside. Sit. I'll check your wounds, he said. Kailara hesitated, then allowed him to examine her minor cuts and bruises. He used a quick alien healing gel, carefully applying it to the scratches on her arms. His touch was professional, precise, and gentle. Kailara felt a warmth of gratitude she could not put into words. You humans, you think differently, she said. Not just strong, but selfless. I could say the same about your people, Joran replied. But sometimes even the best soldiers falter. Fear can overwhelm anyone. Kailara nodded slowly. She realized that human courage. The hidden stairwell descended deep into the heart of the palace. Captain Joran led the way, his senses alert to the faintest sound. Empress Kailara followed closely, her trust in him growing with every step. Around them, the walls of the palace were cracked and scorched from the invasion, a reminder of the enemy's relentless assault. Do you know the palace well? Kailara asked, trying to keep her voice calm. Not as well as you, Joran replied. But humans are good at thinking, on the spot. I can find a way. Kailara studied him as they moved. She realized that this human's strength did not come only from his training or armor. It came from something deeper, his ability to adapt, to solve problems in ways her people rarely considered. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but unpredictability had a power of its own. As they reached the base of the stairwell, Joran motioned for her to stop. Ahead lay a large chamber filled with fallen debris and several enemy soldiers patrolling. This won't be easy, he said quietly, but we can use it to our advantage. Kailara watched as he scanned the room, noting the positions of enemies, the layout of the chamber, and the weak points in their formation. Then, with a sudden motion, he picked up a long, broken beam from the debris. He propped it at an angle near a support column. What are you doing? She whispered. You'll see, Joran said. He tossed a small rock across the room. The beam shifted, creating a trap. As the enemy soldier nearest to it walked forward, the beam toppled, knocking him off balance. The other soldiers froze, confused by the unexpected move. Kailara's eyes widened. She had been trained in warfare all her life, yet she had never seen such improvisation. Her own guards followed strict routines and formations. Humans, she realized, had a flexibility her people rarely practiced. Joran motioned for her to move silently behind him. Together they navigated through the room, using shadows and debris for cover. Kailara followed his guidance without hesitation, realizing that his instincts were as sharp as any weapon. As they reached the next corridor, they encountered a small group of palace staff who had been hiding from the enemy. They were frightened, but Joran reassured them with calm authority. Follow us, he said. We will keep you safe. The staff hesitated, but then followed, forming a small, loyal group. Kailara watched him manage them. He spoke with clarity, giving instructions that were simple but effective. He was not just a soldier, he was a leader, capable of inspiring trust, even in those who had never seen a human before. The group moved deeper into the palace. Joran led them through maintenance, tunnels, narrow passages, and hidden rooms. Each step was calculated to avoid enemy patrols. Kailara realized that humans excelled at using their environment, turning ordinary spaces into advantages. At one point, they reached a collapsed bridge that spanned a chasm leading to the palace's inner hall. Kailara froze. The gap was wide, and the floor beneath it unstable. We have to cross, Joran said, his tone calm but firm. I'll go first and guide you. He tested the bridge, finding the safest path. Then he extended a hand to Kailara, helping her across. When a section of the bridge threatened to give way, Joran held her firmly, his strength allowing her to move safely. It was a combination of courage, quick thinking, and physical ability, qualities she had never fully appreciated in humans. Once across, Kelara allowed herself a moment of gratitude. "You are remarkable," she said. "I am just doing my duty," Joran replied. "Keeping people safe is what humans do best when they care about someone." Kelara thought about that. Her own guards had been trained for years, yet they had failed. Fear had overtaken their training. Humans, by contrast, had something different, a drive that came from more than skill. It came from heart. As they reached a small observation chamber overlooking the courtyard, they paused to catch their breath. The enemy soldiers were regrouping, preparing for another attack. Joran surveyed the area carefully, noting weak points in the enemy's formation. "They think they have us trapped," he said quietly. "But humans can turn disadvantage into advantage. Watch and learn," Kelara observed as he began to create simple traps using debris and small tools. He moved quickly, placing objects to trip or confuse the enemy. Then he positioned the palace staff in safe locations to assist him if needed. It was strategy combined with improvisation, a human signature move. When the enemy finally approached, they were met with unexpected resistance. Joran and the small group used the environment, quick thinking, and clever distractions to slow them down. The soldiers stumbled, confused by the unorthodox tactics. Kelara realized that humans were unpredictable not just physically but mentally. Their way of thinking did not follow rules her people had learned since birth. As the battle outside raged, Kelara noticed a change in her own perspective. Humans were not just strong or fast, they were adaptable, creative, and selfless. They inspired courage not through tradition but through action. Joran's leadership, calm under pressure and inventive in execution, made her realize the true value of humanity. Finally, the small group reached the inner sanctum of the palace. Joran set up a temporary defensive position, ensuring Kelara and the staff were safe. "Rest here for a moment," he said. "We need to plan our next move carefully." Kelara took a seat, her mind racing. She had always believed that strength and discipline were the keys to victory. But now, she understood that courage, intelligence, and heart could surpass all. Humans had a power her people rarely possessed, an unpredictable brilliance that could change the outcome of any battle. And Captain Joran was the finest example of it she had ever seen. For the first time, Kelara felt that they had a real chance, not just to survive, but to fight back and reclaim the palace. With a human soldier by her side, her hope grew stronger, and with that hope, a new kind of courage began to rise within her. The inner sanctum of the palace was quiet, but the tension was thick. Captain Joran crouched behind a large column, studying, the map of the courtyard and the outer halls in his mind. Empress Kelara stood beside him, her posture straight, her eyes burning with determination. She had begun to see the human's unique strength, not just in battle, but in thinking, planning, and inspiring others. "The enemy thinks they've won," Joran whispered, "but they have no idea what humans can do." Kelara frowned slightly. "You make it sound simple." "Nothing about war is simple," he said. "But it becomes easier when you use what others cannot predict. They expect fear, not courage. They expect chaos, not planning." Kelara nodded. She had always relied on discipline and strategy, yet she had never witnessed creativity like Joran's. Humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability had power. Joran turned to the palace staff who had joined them. "We are going to make our move now. Everyone has a role. Stay calm, follow instructions, and act when I signal." The staff nodded nervously, but the confidence in Joran's voice made them listen. Even the frightened attendants began to feel capable. Kelara watched silently, realizing that humans had a way of inspiring courage simply through their actions. As they approached the courtyard, the sounds of battle grew louder. Energy blasts cracked against the walls, and distant shouts echoed through the palace. Joran led Kelara through a side entrance, avoiding the main corridors where the enemy concentrated their forces. From their vantage point, they could see the enemy soldiers moving in formation. Their energy weapons glinted in the sun, and their disciplined ranks made them seem unbeatable. But Joran was already seeing their weaknesses. They rely too much on technology, he whispered. They have strength in numbers, but they are slow to adapt. That is our advantage. Kaelara's eyes narrowed. She had always trusted strength and skill, but now she began to understand the human mind. Joran's ability to observe, analyze, and act quickly was remarkable. He motioned for the palace staff to take positions around the courtyard. Using broken pillars, overturned carts, and scattered debris, Joran set up traps and ambush points. When the enemy entered, they would be forced to move unpredictably, giving them a chance to strike. Stay low, Joran instructed Kaelara. Follow my lead and keep your staff safe. As the enemy soldiers advanced, they walked right into the traps. Joran moved swiftly, disabling attackers and guiding Kaelara's team. The courtyard, once a place of fear, began to feel like a battlefield they could control. Kaelara herself joined the fight, inspired by Joran's courage. She wielded her energy staff with precision, striking down enemies who thought they had victory in hand. She moved with confidence, her actions no longer driven by fear but by determination. The tide of battle began to shift. Enemy soldiers, frustrated by the unexpected resistance, stumbled and hesitated. Some of Kaelara's guards, who had fled earlier, peered from the shadows. They saw the human soldier protecting the Empress and leading the fight. Slowly, one by one, they returned to help, their honor restored by his bravery. Humans. Truly remarkable, Kaelara whispered, watching Joran move among the combatants. His shield blocked every attack aimed at her, his strength unmatched, and his strategies unpredictable. Her people had trained for years, but Joran's courage and ingenuity surpassed it all. With the returning guards, the combined force of humans and loyal aliens pushed the enemy back. Joran coordinated the attacks, signaling the staff and guards to strike at weak points. They moved as one unit, mixing human improvisation with alien discipline. The courtyard was quiet now, but tension hung thick in the air. Captain Joran stood beside Empress Kaelara, surveying the palace gates. The enemy commander, furious at the repeated failures of his soldiers, had gathered reinforcements for a final assault. This would be the decisive battle, the one that would determine the fate of the palace and the people within it. Kaelara tightened her grip on her energy staff. Her robes were torn in places, and her hair was streaked with dust and sweat. Yet, her posture was proud and strong. She had fought beside Joran before, and she trusted him completely. Together, they had inspired the returning guards and palace staff to defend their home. Joran crouched behind a broken pillar, his shield ready. "They will come in waves," he whispered. "Stay close and follow my lead. We can win this if we stay calm and act as one." Kaelara nodded. "I will fight with you. We will end this together." The enemy surged forward like a storm. Energy blasts lit the sky, and armored soldiers charged with fierce determination. But Joran had prepared. The palace staff and returning guards moved strategically, creating traps and ambush points in every corridor. Joran took the lead, advancing through the battlefield with remarkable precision. He used the environment to his advantage, toppling pillars to block enemy paths, creating diversions with debris, and guiding Kaelara and her team to strike at weak points. The humans' unpredictable methods disoriented the enemy, giving the defenders an edge. Kaelara fought with renewed confidence. She moved beside Joran, striking down enemy soldiers who underestimated her. She used her staff with precision, coordinating attacks with the human soldier and the returning guards. Every move they made was calculated, blending alien skill with human ingenuity. At one point, the enemy commander appeared on the balcony above, his towering figure casting a shadow over the courtyard. He roared orders, confident that his superior numbers would crush the defenders. But Joran's eyes narrowed. He noticed a flaw in the enemy's formation, a narrow passage that could allow them to flank the commander's forces. "Kaelara, cover the staff," Joran shouted. "We are going around." Together they moved swiftly, using shadows and cover to approach the enemy from behind. Joran signaled the palace staff to create diversions, throwing energy grenades and pulling down broken structures to block paths. The enemy soldiers faltered, confused by the unconventional tactics. The final clash began. Joran led the charge, shield raised, moving with strength and speed that inspired everyone around him. He protected Kelara from every threat, his body a wall against enemy attacks. His courage and leadership ignited the defenders' spirits, transforming fear into determination. Kelara struck alongside him, her movements confident and decisive. She realized that humans did not just fight with strength, they fought with purpose, strategy, and heart. Joran's bravery inspired her and her people to push beyond their limits. The enemy commander, seeing his forces falter, descended into the courtyard to face them directly. He swung his massive energy blade, aiming at Joran. The human soldier blocked the attack with his shield, sparks flying from the impact. The force of the blow staggered Joran, but he stood firm, protecting the Empress. Kelara saw the opening. She launched a precise blast from her staff, striking the commander's side. He roared in anger and pain, swinging wildly. Joran seized the moment, using his strength and speed to disarm the commander. Together, human and Empress moved as one, pushing him back and forcing his retreat. The enemy soldiers, seeing their leader defeated, began to flee. The remaining waves collapsed under the coordinated defense. The courtyard, once under siege, was now fully in the defenders' control. Kelara breathed heavily, her eyes on Joran. You have done the impossible," she said. "Your courage, your skill, your mind, it has saved my palace and my people." Joran shook his head, wiping sweat from his brow. "I did what needed to be done. You fought bravely too. Together, we made it." The palace staff and guards gathered around them, cheering for their victory. For the first time since the invasion began, hope filled the air. Kelara looked at her people, then at Joran, and realized that humans were more than just soldiers. They were leaders, protectors, and symbols of courage. The Empress stepped forward, addressing her guards. "You have witnessed courage in its truest form," she said. "A human soldier stood by my side when all others fled. His bravery, skill, and heart have shown us that true strength is not just in numbers or training. It is in will, courage, and selflessness." The guards lowered their heads in respect. They had learned a lesson they would never forget. Courage and honor were not bound by species. Humans, in their unpredictability and bravery, were forces to be respected. Joran stood, quietly, observing the scene. He had never sought recognition, but he understood the impact of his actions. By protecting Kelara, he had shown the power of human courage and ingenuity. Kelara approached him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Captain Joran, your actions have changed the course of my empire. I will not forget this day, nor the example you have set. Humans are truly remarkable." Joran nodded. "I only did what I could. Your people are strong too, Empress. Together we can face any challenge." The night settled over the palace, and the once chaotic courtyard was quiet. The defenders had secured their home and the enemy had been repelled. Kelara looked around, seeing her guards standing taller, inspired by the human soldier who had saved them. In that moment, she understood a profound truth. Humans were more than just visitors in her world. They had courage, heart, and intelligence that could not be measured by traditional standards. Joran had proven that humans could stand beside the strongest warriors in the galaxy and make a difference when it mattered most. As Kelara and Joran surveyed the palace, she knew that the bond forged through battle would last. Humans had earned their place not only as protectors but as allies, capable of changing the tide in the most desperate moments. And Captain Joran, who had shielded her with his body and led with unmatched courage, would be remembered as a symbol of what humanity could achieve, undaunted, unbroken, and unstoppable. The sun rose over the palace, casting golden light on the courtyard that had seen so much chaos the night before. Captain Joran stood at the edge of the plaza, his armor scorched but his posture unwavering. Empress Kelara approached, her robes clean but her face still carrying the traces of exhaustion and determination. "Today you have not only saved me, Kaelara said, her voice steady. But you have saved my people and shown us the strength of humanity. Joran nodded, modest but aware of the moment's importance. I only did what I had to do. The real heroes are the ones who stayed and fought with us. Kaelara smiled, glancing at the returning guards and palace staff. Their faces were filled with pride and gratitude. They had witnessed courage firsthand, and their hearts had been changed forever. The ones who had fled earlier now understood what it truly meant to defend their Empress and their home. You humans are remarkable, Kaelara said quietly, almost to herself. Not just strong, not just clever, but brave in ways that inspire others. Joran looked at her. Bravery comes in many forms. Protecting someone when all hope seems lost. That's the kind of courage that matters most. The Empress took a deep breath, stepping forward to address her people. Guards of the palace, citizens of our world, hear me. Today we faced a threat unlike any we have known. Many faltered, but one human soldier stood by my side when all others fled. He fought, with courage, intelligence, and selflessness beyond anything I have seen.
Let his actions remind us that strength is not just in numbers or technology. It is in heart and will. Humans are allies we can trust, and their example should inspire us all. The guards lowered their heads in respect, and the staff clapped.
Softly, their admiration clear. Kaelara turned to Joran, her eyes shining with gratitude. You have changed the way we see humanity. I will ensure your deeds are remembered across my empire. Joran felt a rare sense of fulfillment. For a human soldier, recognition was not the goal. But he understood the significance. He had shown what humans could achieve, even in a galaxy of advanced civilizations. Humans were not just capable of surviving, they could lead, protect, and inspire hope where it was most needed. Over the next few days, Kaelara organized a formal ceremony to honor the defenders. Joran stood beside her as the Empress addressed the assembled citizens. Guards who had once fled now stood tall, ready to defend their palace with renewed loyalty. Let this day be remembered, Kaelara said, as the day humans and aliens stood together, uniting courage and strategy, heart and skill to protect what we hold dear. Captain Joran has proven that humanity's strength is unmatched in spirit, even if we cannot always measure it in power. Joran's presence drew curiosity from the citizens. Many had never seen a human up close. They observed him. The calm, focus, the quiet confidence, the unshakable courage. Slowly, respect replaced doubt. Humans were no longer distant strangers. They were allies, capable of standing beside the strongest warriors in the galaxy. Kaelara placed a hand on Joran's shoulder. You will stay with us for a time, she said. We have much to learn from you, and I wish for your guidance in training our guards and staff in the ways of human strategy and resilience. Joran smiled. I would be honored, Your Highness. Humans can offer more than just strength. We can